person as being bona fide. Just like in your business,
Yeah, yeah.
you're going to hire somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you ask them, do you have any experience, with microchips and things like that? He said, yeah, I got plenty of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Then you give him some problem to solve, and he can't solve it because he was just lying.
Mm-hmm.
So in the same way, you might have learned so many things, but if it's not bona fide knowledge, then it's not really going to help you at the moment of death. You know, it's like you can be the biggest expert in computer chips. Will that save you from the cycle of birth and death? No, not at all.
Yeah.
So therefore, you have to think very seriously. All right, what can serve me from from going back in the cycle of birth and death?
Mm-hmm.
It's the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and it's knowledge of Krishna, and it's engagement in service to Krishna in the association of genuine devotees. So tell me who your friends are, I can tell you who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So that includes what you're reading also. So if you're always reading, you know, books by speculators, they're called speculators or Mayavadis, people who don't accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they write a lot of books, right? How to do this, how to do that. Then you're basically wasting your time.
Mm.
They're not giving you the essential knowledge of how to come closer to Krishna. So coming closer to Krishna, it's by hearing regularly genuine devotees' lectures and hearing genuine statements about Krishna. That's Bhagavad Gita, as it is, Yata Rup, not Bhagavad Gita. Like, for example, Gandhi wrote the Bhagavad Gita also, but it was all about nonviolence. Well, wait a minute. The whole Bhagavad Gita is about violence, isn't it? Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna to fight. So how can it be about nonviolence? So Gandhi's, let's say, conception of Bhagavad Gita is his own speculation. It has nothing to do with the real Bhagavad Gita. So why should he call it Bhagavad Gita then? You see, they're always trying to use the name Bhagavad Gita to give themselves some authority, but actually they're not following Bhagavad Gita. Gandhi didn't follow Bhagavad Gita. He talked about it, but he didn't really, follow it seriously. So this is the problem. There's so many different gurus, but I always say there's gurus and there's kangaroos. So you don't want to choose a kangaroo. You want to choose a bona fide guru, right? Who actually can be validated by Shastra. Now you know. And the same way in your business, if you're going to hire someone and you ask them to, show if they can, understand an equation and how to use it and things like that, and they can't do it, would you hire them? No, not at all. The same thing with the guru. If the guru has bad habits, or if the guru is just full of speculation, or if the guru is very clever by saying, I never read Shastra. Now, that means you have no way of knowing what he's saying is true or false. He just eliminated Shastra completely. Anyway, you have to think about these things. And there was a group of people who were following a guru, who was not actually a bona fide guru. So he had his disciples build a concrete boat. And when they launched the boat, and all the disciples were in the boat, it sunk and they all died. And they ended up in Narak. And then they saw Yamaraj. And they said, hey, what's going on here? And Narak said, and then Yamaraj said, what do you mean, what's going on here? So wait, look, we're sincere people, we're just following our guru. He said, yeah, and he is not a real guru, and he's in hell, and you're in hell also. They said, but we were just honest, we were, just following. He said, yeah, because you were attracted to that person, and whatever happens to that person is going to happen to you. That's why you're here right now in Narak. So we have to be careful. So we have to be very, just like, if you want to hire someone and you find out they're not really qualified, are you going to still hire them? No, they have to be qualified. Most people also, someone just gets graduated from college and is studying, to be a IT guy, but they still have to be trained. It's not that they know everything about your company and how your company functions. They still have to be trained. So in the same way, it's not enough to be a sometime devotee. You have to be all-time devotee, and you have to have the association of genuine devotees also. So that way, you don't miss the boat. What's the boat? The boat that's going to take you back to the spiritual world, right? Otherwise, you'll be in a rowboat going around in circles in the ocean. Right? You want to go back to Godhead. You don't want to be, making. You don't want to be a hamster. You know what a hamster is, right? Yeah. So for exercise, they have that little wheel, right? The hamster gets on the wheel and is real happy, he's smiling, and it's just going around and around and around, going nowhere. You don't want to be
In fact, they hang a cheese or something. Yeah. So it's trying to catch that cheese and then it's constantly.
We don't want to be like that. We don't want to make circles the rest of our life. Anyway, Hare Krishna. This chanting Hare Krishna is the recommended way in this age of Kali Yuga for people to make spiritual progress. So we should take it seriously. Yeah. Hare Bol.
Do you read Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah, not regularly, but I read.
Which Bhagavad Gita?
I have this one.
Oh, yeah.
I read this one.
Because there are many other Bhagavad Gitas. By other gurus. So, this is Bhagavad Gita Yata Rup, as it really is.
So I know, because I think I'm asking some of these questions for you on your behalf. Because Sadhguru says Krishna is just one more human being. He also, kind of went to his guru and then he became enlightened. Right? Is that your belief? Or is that what you're understanding? Now that you've been following him a little bit.
So whatever he says, I can correlate. He's talking about Advaitic message, right? So the consciousness is everywhere.
So do you believe in Advaita right now?
Right now? Yeah, right now I because because the family I brought up and everything, we are Shankara Bhashya and Shankara, we are supposed to Upasaka, Taitriya Upasaka, Krishna Yajurveda Taitrika Upasaka, we get initiated into Gayatri and then told you need to follow Taitriya Upanishad preachings, right? So it's more geared towards that.
So more Advaita philosophy from their kind of the family tradition.
But long back, it's of course, Gotra Pravaras, Ambarisha is our originator. So we know.
Ambarisha?
Yeah, Ambarisha.
Ambarisha, did you read about him in Bhagavatam?
Yeah. So it's we are Vaishnavik, but then at some point it becomes Shaivik tradition in our family lineage. So it's like a... Khichdi. Which one? Khichdi.
No, but are you following any of them sincerely? No, right?
Sincerely? No.
So, Maharaj, you want to speak about Advaita versus... Dvaita versus
You know,
Advaita.
this
And
everything is one
Mm-hmm.
is nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
All is one. There was once a man. He was a very wealthy man, and he had a guru, and he said everything is one. And therefore, he told his wife, everything is one. So I'm going to take a second wife
Mm-hmm.
because everything is one. She got really upset, but she didn't say anything. So she invited the guru, who taught him everything is one, to dinner. And at that time, she made dinner and made everything, really nice. But she made two things. One, put in two different types of cutlery and dishes, right? So when they sat down to eat, she gave them two dishes. One had stool in it, and the other had regular food in it, right? But they looked the same, right? So when they began to eat, and all of a sudden they tasted the stool, they spit it out, and said, "What's going on here?" And she said, "Everything is one." So no, there's not everything is one is not real philosophy. Real philosophy is there's variety in the world, right? And you have to be able to discriminate what is real, what is false, what is good, what is bad, who is bona fide, who is not bona fide, right? So this all is one or everything is one philosophy is nonsense. Right? So she taught her husband that everything is one is not good, and that the guru that taught him that was a nonsense person. Right? So in the same way, we have to be very careful not to be hooked to a false narrative. Everything is not one, In this world, someone is tall, someone is short, someone is intelligent, someone is not intelligent. There's all these varieties in life, right? However, the life and spiritual life, all the different, let's say, possibilities are not what you would call a handicap, as long as they're engaged in the service of the Lord. So the most ignorant person in the world, if they chant Hare Krishna and follow the rules and regulations of Krishna consciousness, even though they're not a pundit, they don't know Sanskrit, they don't even know how to read, they're illiterate, still they make spiritual advancement because they're eating prasadam, they're associating with devotees, and they're chanting Hare Krishna. So it's very important not to waste 1 second of time, because that's the most important element in your life is time. Because when time passes, you can't get it back. You can be the richest person in the world, you can't get it back. So therefore, we don't want to get involved in a tangential dead end in our life. We're following someone who claims to be a guru, but is misleading you. So who is really guru? We should ask that question. Well, anyone who repeats what Krishna says correctly is a guru. Now, you have all the books about what Krishna says, right? You have Bhagavad Gita. That's basically the only book you need is Bhagavad Gita. That's all. Bhagavad Gita, Yata Rup, as it is, by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Now you have a baseline validation. So whatever is in Bhagavad Gita, if you simply repeat that, then you're bona fide. If you start making things up and speculating, you're no longer bona fide. You're going off into a tangent that leads to nowhere. It's just like, having you buy a property, but the property leads you to nowhere, right? There's no buildings there, there's no water there, but you own it, but you own somewhere that leads you to nowhere. So in the same way, we can very easily choose to follow someone that leads us to nowhere. You don't really make any real spiritual advancement because they're just speculating. It might sound good. There might be hundreds and thousands of people following the person, but basically they're not really making any tangible spiritual advancement. A spiritual advancement means you can control your senses and mind especially, and keep it focused on Krishna all the time. That means that you've made spiritual advancement. Right? And therefore, before you do anything, you always ask yourself a question. Is this something that Krishna will accept or not accept? That means that you have a baseline validation. Right? It's also called the triangle of verification. So, triangle of verification is what Krishna says, point one. What the acharyas say, which is basically repeating what Krishna says, that's point two. And then point three is what the Guru says, that is validated by what the Acharya said and what Krishna said originally. Now you can close the triangle. Now you have the triangle of verification. But if when it comes to the Guru and it doesn't say what the bona fide Gurus have said and what Krishna said originally, you can't close the triangle of verification. Then you know that person is not bona fide. So there are different ways of vetting,
But to me, like, it's you are what you are based on karma, right? Like if we are Krishna, it's still sarvakal. Vikalpa is still there, or nirvikalpa samadhi you can only reach if you are not. It's like the thought dies, right? Or like you have to, but you are still, if you are still thinking about Krishna, that means like something, the karma related to that will still be there. So if you have to completely get out of it, of the cycle, you have to go to nirvikalpa samadhi is what.
So this is the philosophy of where there should not be any thoughts. Versus in this case, we are saying, we want to serve Krishna, we want to like Krishna, so there is a thought. So his question is, are we reaching?
It's all hodgepodge philosophy of Mayavadis. Mayavadis are people who don't accept that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and who don't accept that you and I are individuals. They only accept there's one reality, right? And that's Brahman. So in order to merge into Brahman, you have to deny your own individuality. So you do meditation and you do different things that deny your individuality so you can merge into the light of Brahman. See? That's called suicide. You see, you can't. Are you able to meditate 24 hours a day? No. So the whole thing about meditation is actually false. You might say, "Well, I feel much better when I meditate." Yeah, but that's not giving you any spiritual advancement. But if you're always engaged in Krishna's service, bona fide service, validated by the acharyas and originally Krishna, now you're not wasting your time and you're not in a illusory bubble.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just get into this hodgepodge thing about meditation, 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes at night, or 1 hour in the morning, that's a complete waste of time. That's not real meditation anyway. What are they meditating on? Some people say, well, I meditate on nothing, or I meditate on the light, or I meditate on my grandmother. It's all nonsense. That's not meditation. Today there's too much nonsense. It's all over the place. Yeah.
So I'd like for him to read the 18th chapter, 64th, 65th, and 66th, because you'll read in your own words what Krishna said to Arjuna.
Sarvagrihatmana bhuya shrunu me paramam vachaha isto asi se dhudamiti tato vakshayami te hatim. Because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you. My supreme instructions, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear with me. Hear this for me, for it is for your benefit.
So what is that most confidential knowledge?
So go to the next verse.
Manmana
Bhava mad bhakto bhadyachimam namaskru mam evaishyasi satyam te patijane priyosme. Now you're getting to the real crux of the issue.
Yeah, so what is the
always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my dear.
This is God making a promise to his devotee, Arjuna, but that is making the same promise to all of us.
So if it is, ekatvam, like whatever you say, then Arjuna at the end should have just said, I am also God, right?
No, he's reaching the God, right?
It's reaching the God.
Yeah.
So that means you reach God. That is how
You come on the same level as God.
Yeah.
But that's not possible. We're still passing stool and urine. How can we come to the level of God? But we can become a devotee of God.
And read the next one also.
Right. For example, Krishna lifted Govardhan Parvat, right? And then he danced with the gopis. So there's so many, complete false yogis today and gurus. They want to dance with the gopis, but they can't even lift a table. Let alone Govardhan Parvat. Because first they have to be able to lift Govardhan Parvat. Then they can dance with the gopis. You see? But they can't even lift a table. So they're just bogus. They're not actually bona fide people. Yeah. You have to think rationally.
Yeah. Because to me, we are still in karma yoni, right? So since you are still born with karma, right? So I don't know, maybe.
Okay, this whole idea that you have about karma, spiritual life is akarma, no karma. And you can easily achieve it by becoming Krishna conscious. Krishna consciousness means you're not assuming any more karma.
Any more karma.
So even though I think this is a very important point, because even for me in the beginning it was a big shift because everything we do we think is accruing some karma. We're doing some karma. But in Krishna consciousness, when you do as a service to the Lord,
then
there is no karma. Not only there is no karma, there is basically, it's burning away your prior karma as well. So it's first of all, it's a karma, right? So that's a big thing. Because I think he was touching upon one point, right, Maharaj? One is the thought. Actually, Krishna says that the only thought that is bona fide is the thought to serve Krishna. Right? So by doing that, you are becoming essentially same as, spiritual dimension. So you're not, even though, in fact, Prabhupada writes in many places, there is a gulf of difference between a person who is working for sense gratification without Krishna in the picture to a person who's doing almost similar activities. Like we also eat, we also work, we also do most of the activities. But if Krishna is this ultimate goal of all those efforts, like why do we eat? We eat prasadam offered to Krishna.
Okay.
Right? When we do seva, we are doing the service to please Krishna or Guru, in that parampara. So everything is connected to Krishna. If it is not connected to Krishna, yes, you're getting the reactions. But if it is connected to Krishna, there is no reactions. And that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think the way I see it is, in your head you still have probably questions in terms of why should I believe in Bhagavad Gita, why should I believe in Krishna? Because if they are just one more,
not believe. I mean,
is it one more philosophy in your head? Why should I mean, there are many philosophies, they seem to be, oh, this is one more philosophy and Maharaj is stating his philosophy. Is that how you're thinking? Because I'm just trying to read what might be. Like, because obviously Maharaj is putting in his words Bhagavad Gita, Krishna as the highest.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate. Now, are you still having trouble in understanding that? Because that is a question you can ask him. Why should I accept Bhagavad Gita? Why should I accept Krishna? Because, if I accept Bhagavad Gita and Krishna, then everything Krishna said, as you read, makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, to me, is it Krishna, Shiva, or it's just a nama, right? We are just giving a name to it, right? But ultimate divine is divine, right? So is what is.
That's not true.
Yeah.
What you just said is not true. You have a family, right? So in your family, there's you, your wife, your children, and you say, well, it's just a name, they're not really the wife, they're not really children, I'm not really a man. What does that mean? It's just a name. No, it's not just a name. You're talking about your child, you're talking about your wife, you're talking about yourself, right? You actually exist. It's not just some abstraction. So this is what the Mayavadis, the people that don't believe that Krishna is God, therefore they are free to assume that everything is not what it looks like, and they make false narratives. Right? Just like now, what you just said now is a false narrative. It's not actually true. You are a person. You have your own thoughts, you have your own desires, and so forth. And your wife does too, and your children do.
Because of the past karmic substance which is causing that deviation.
Well, the whole purpose of spiritual life is to purify that deviation.
Yeah. So reduce that, right? So
become a real person. So what's a real person? They understand that God is in their heart. Therefore, God is in my heart, and He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then my real purpose in life is to serve God. Right? Because we've all come from Krishna, and Krishna is in our heart. So therefore, my real vocation in life should be Krishna consciousness. If God wasn't in my heart, and I wouldn't even know that He existed, then I can follow this thing or that thing, or so many different philosophies and so forth. But the fact that God is in the heart, and He's maintaining our life, right? If He leaves our heart, we die. So He's maintaining us. So, and we know the name of God is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So there should not be any doubts of what we should do in life. We should always be engaged in the service of Krishna. Now we become a real person. But if we develop a lot of
pie in the sky concepts. We're just floating. It's just like they send a rocket to the moon, but it misses the moon. What happens to it? You know how big space is, right? It's gigantic, right? That means that rocket is just going to keep going to nowhere. Same with us. If we speculate about things, we're going to go nowhere. We can speculate unlimitedly, but it goes nowhere. There's no tangible result of that speculation. So we have to keep always validating everything we say by shastric evidence. Right? So, Manmanabhava Mad Bhakto Mad Yajimam Namaskuru Mam Vaisisi Satyante Pratijane Priyasine. So read that verse. You just read it.
Yeah.
It's very important. What does it say, the English translation?
Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your homage unto me, thus you will come to me without fail.
Now, if you never read any other verse in your life, but you memorize this verse and you live by it, you're going to go back to Krishna in the spiritual world. And you can take with you 14 generations of your family. If you become a pure devotee and you follow this, 14 generations of your family are going to be liberated also. So if you really love your wife and kids and your uncles and your aunties and things, you should follow this verse. Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Mad Yajimam Namaskuru Mam Vivaisasi Satyante Pratijane Priyasine. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
Very simple, straightforward. Otherwise, this guru says this other guru says that. That's just a merry-go-round. You're never going to get to the truth. They're just opinions. Just like you go to a doctor, and after 6 months of diagnosis and so forth, and doing tests and blood tests and whatever, in the end you say, "Okay, doc, well, tell me what it's all about." He said, "Well, I'm not quite sure. It might be this, or it might be that." You just realized you went to a person who just wasted your time and wasted your money, and cannot give you a straightforward answer. So that's what this hodgepodge of Mayavad philosophy is. It never gives you a straightforward answer to the question of who am I and what am I really supposed to do in this life. So we should become very serious about Krishna consciousness, because then you come in contact with Krishna, and Krishna is saying very, very clearly what your purpose in life should be. It should be to go back to the spiritual world. And how do you go back to the spiritual world? Is by becoming Krishna conscious, following the rules and regulations, Krishna consciousness. No meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, always chanting Hare Krishna, always associating with devotees, always eating only prasadam, and always, if you can, coming out on Harinam Sankirtan. Now you have 4 things you should never do, and 4 things you should always do. You just follow those 2 4s, and you have a complete spiritual life. And actually, it's fun. Chanting, dancing, feasting. This is the only religion that just by chanting Hare Krishna, dancing in front of the deities, and feasting on prasadam, you go back to Godhead. There's no other philosophy that preaches like that. Right? And it's easy to do. Anybody, children can do it, parents can do it. You don't have to be a big pundit. So, why is it so easy? Because this is Kali Yuga, the worst period of time, where most people are not interested in God. So Krishna has made it, especially Lord Krishna in the form of Lord Chaitanya, has made it very easy. All you have to do is chant Hare Krishna, dance, take prasadam, and regularly hear bona fide lectures by bona fide devotees. you'll have a complete spiritual life and you'll go back to Godhood. This is why, because this is the worst time to be living. So therefore, Krishna, in the form of Lord Chaitanya, has made it very easy how to break out of this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. And it's basically chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Ki
Jai.
Jai.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol.
Okay. You have this book, right?
Yeah.
No, that's not the question. You should.
Yeah.
Are you reading this? You
But I
have
think
the
he- but
book,
he-
okay, fine. But are you reading the book?
Our Bhagavad Gita as it is. He's keeping it as it is.
Yes, I read it as it is. Many
So-
times people have a big library, but they never read the books. Or very seldom read the book. You only need one book. You see, to be educated, you don't have to read many books. You only need one book. And if you know that book perfectly, you're fully educated. But it's got to be a bona fide book. So Bhagavad Gita, as it is, by His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, is the most bona fide book that you can have. And you don't have to read any other book. You just read that one book.
Yeah, see, this is the book that Maharaj has been, he received it 55 years ago. And
It didn't look like that 50
so I'll put it here for the purpose of the people who are on the picture. So this is the book, Maharaj Bhagavad Gita. So this is, Maharaj has been reading for like, so you see how many notes he has taken throughout his entire life. Every day Maharaj reads this book. Every day.
I lecture from it also.
So, like throughout his life, he's taken so many notes, cross references. Okay, where else this comment is, or this particular concept is also referred to, and so on.
Bhagavad Gita is the oldest book in the history of the world. There's no other book as old as this. It was first spoken by Krishna to the sun god, to Surya, millions and millions of years ago. And the last time it was spoken was by Krishna to Arjuna 5,000 years ago. So it is the oldest book in the history of the world. And it is without any fault in it. If you get Bhagavad Gita as it is, by His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, you're going to hear everything that Krishna said to Arjuna without any, let's say, hodgepodge interpretation. So all you need is that one book. Just like the Muslims, they have one book, it's called the Quran, right? But the Quran is missing many things. They haven't learned yet you shouldn't eat meat. Right? And the Christians have one book, it's the Bible. But again, they haven't learned yet that you shouldn't eat meat. Right? They haven't even learned that animals have a soul. They believe that animals don't have a soul equal to a human being. Therefore, you can kill them and eat them. So their books are not, let's say, complete. They're missing something. 1 second, I'm sorry. Someone's calling me.